What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is the Storytime video, and we starting off a little personal. I did a bit of like a look up of like some like Storytime ideas sort of a thing, and then I used my my cards, like my tarot cards, to sort of just be like, okay, well, pick a number for me, basically. And I originally got I think I got the 10 of Pentacles or something, which number 10 was like losing a friend or a family member, and I was like, okay, we have some options there. If we take losing as like a very loose definition of like, you know, the falling apart of a relationship, all the way through to, you know, that person dying. And so then kept going, Pentacles kept coming up, and I was like, okay, alright, okay, I'm getting strong like earth sign vibes going on here. What's going on? And then remembered that my Nan, the first grandparent that I lost, was a Virgo, which is an earth sign. So the tarot cards chose this. Now I do have 2 other videos that I'm uploading today. They have already been previously recorded. I am trying to catch up, I promise. Later tonight, after I come home from work, I will be watching and hopefully reviewing WandaVision for you guys. If not, that'll definitely be up tomorrow. It'll be like first thing first. Anyway, this is the only video I'm actually making today, simply because of how personal it is. For being completely honest, this is one of the reasons I'm currently seeing a psychologist. So, anyway, enough procrastinating, into the story. So, let's just jump back, all the way back in time. We're going back easy 20 years. Going back a while. Damn. We actually coming up on 20 years, in like 2 or 3 years time, for when she actually passed away. That's crazy. Anyway, I had a particularly close relationship with my Nan. As much as I can remember of her, like for pretty much as long as why are my thoughts, which are clearly formed, not communicating with my mouth, which is alright. Let's connect here, tell the story properly. So as far back as I can remember, there we go, that's how we start that sentence off. My Nan was on dialysis for, I think it had something to do with her bowels? I think it was bowels. I could be completely wrong there, but it was some gastrointestinal organ. She was having difficulty with it and was therefore on dialysis. And obviously, being the kind, sweet-hearted, loving grandchild that I was when I was more baby-faced than I would be, even if I did shave this off. And when I still had some semblance of a soul and innocence and all that other stuff, I used to help her change her dialysis bags when she had to have them in. And so I sort of got a nickname from her, and I was her Dr. Man. Other things that we did besides that, like, I remember she loved the beach, so we would always go to the beach with her. I remember where they lived in October had a big, like, I know some places have like a weekend where like all the combi vans all show up, and it's just like this big car show with combi vans. Like, oh yeah, cool, everyone's showing off their passion for the. Where they lived had the same thing, but for hot rods, and it was always in the October holidays, which was when my birthday always was when I was in school. And so we used to go visit my nan and my pop during that, and I would get to spend my birthday with easily my favourite grandparent, and we would look at hot rods and we would go to the beach. I remember there were a couple of times she took us fishing, which is probably why I don't like fishing now. And she had, wow, okay, we're not gonna open that particular scar. That one's hit a little more recently. But she had a porcelain, I think it was supposed to be a swan. We always called it the duck because, I mean, at the time, my grandmother passed away, I must have been somewhere between the ages of 8 and 10. So being a child at the time, there's no really, when it's just a porcelain figurine of a water bird, and there's things like swans, geese, ducks, that all could theoretically look the same. It was just a duck, because ducks much easier, much more recognizable for my like 6-year-old brain. But we called her the duck, and she would always have like candy in there. And if we'd been sort of good throughout the day, when it came to like afternoon tea time or whatever, we'd be allowed to go and take one or two lollies out of the duck, and it was great. When she was preparing food, like particularly like dinner, specifically here, she would like, take the fatty parts and the, I know there's a word for it and it's not coming to mind, but like the cartilage and stuff that you would like find in the meat. Gristle. The gristle. She would like cut those bits off with just like the smallest amounts of meat still hanging on them, and she would come outside with those scraps, and she would sort of throw them to the kookaburras, which I distinctly remember. There was one afternoon I was just sitting there at the table outside their little house, in this little like beachside retirement village that they lived in at the time, and she's come out for this like evening ritual of hers, and as soon as she's walked out the door and like heard her footfalls, they've just descended from the power lines sort of across the street from her place to rest on the edge of the balcony, and one daring little motherfucker came all the way up and sat on the table, like about as far away as you are from me now, which is currently my full arm's length. At the time, obviously, it wasn't, but it was still like, that bird's close. So yeah, that was fun. I have a lot of fond memories, like nothing overly huge, like, but I do have a lot of fond memories of her. And yeah, then she passed away at a time, and at that time we had just moved from where I had been going to school for like 4 or 5 years, essentially like my childhood home. If I was to pick a particular one, it would be the one in Toowoomba. We just moved from there to Nambucca Heads, so we were only like 10 minutes away. I was dealing with, you know, having left all of my friends behind. There's another story we can tell. But yeah, so I just like left all of my like, you know, essentially childhood friends behind. I, you know, was now dealing with you know, being the new kid and being bullied, not knowing anyone. I think it was probably the first time I've ever felt like properly outside my comfort zone. And I was not here for it. If we're gonna trace my history of mental illness to a particular point, it's probably moving down. My nan was still alive at the time, but we just moved down so we could be closer to her because the adults knew she wasn't going to be around much longer, and letting the children make a lot more memories with her was kind of priority. I remember in her last like couple of days we went into the hospital to see her, and it was, you know, essentially nothing I hadn't seen before, because I had been the one that helped her set up her dialysis, her dialysis. I was used to seeing her, you know, on her bed in her house, sort of a thing, with the big pole and the bag of the saline drip, and you know, essentially the same thing, except it's a hospital bed now, and the window, instead of looking out over her garden, now just looks out over like the car park of the hospital. It wasn't like a big, like, you know, I walked in there and she looked horrible. She looked exactly how I remembered her any other time. So yeah, went in there, and I honestly couldn't tell you what she said to me. I honestly couldn't tell you. But I do know that we went in there and we all got to have, like, you know, a little conversation with her, and then yeah, that was the last time who was it? Because I remember once she got put in hospital, they ended up moving out of the little retirement village they were in, and they moved to Coffs Harbour, which is still close. I mean, where I'm living now, I can go to Coffs Harbour if I want to. I don't often, because from the direction I would have to travel, I have to go past that hospital, and literally the only time I'd been in that hospital was just before my nan passed away. So it's not exactly a location I'm keen on going back to, and it's not like I'm avoiding it. Like last year I went there, like to Coffs Harbour, with a friend, and well, actually with my ex. I went there with my ex while we were dating, and we had sort of like a day trip sort of a thing. And yeah, I had to explain to her, like, oh yeah, no, it's the hospital where my nan died. Yeah. I suppose in order to make this a story time, we need to sort of come forward some time. My pop has now also passed away. That was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in November. But they've both got plaques at a church up in Cleveland, which is in Brisbane, which is where most of my mum's family is. And I have a couple of friends up there as well and I would love to move back to Brisbane or like the Gold Coast or something like that. And if I'm able to soon, like one of the top things on my list is to go and just sort of sit and talk to her. Because, like I said, it's been getting close to 2 decades, and she's still the person I miss the most. So if anyone's ever asked me the question of like, if you could talk to one person, you know, like if you could pick one person to talk to again, who would it be? It would 100% be my nan. Anyway, now that I am not entirely sure if I'm on the verge of a breakdown or not, I'm gonna end the video there. I'm sure I'll be fine. I just when the cards are like, do this story, I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna start off there. So story times this year could be interesting. I think we're gonna use the exact same method to pick the next story next month. But yeah, if you liked this video, if this was entertaining for you, then go ahead, give it a thumbs up, let me know. You know, if you want to see more storytime videos, you know, let me know in the comments. You might have a suggestion for what storytime you would like to see next, or like a suggestion of like a particular thing you'd like me to tell you guys about, whether I've experienced it or not. If I have, I can just tell you the memory. If I haven't, I can tell you the plan. So yeah, let me know in the comments. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified when I upload new videos, don't forget to grab that bell and give it a good old ring. Make sure notifications are turned on. And so yeah, with that being that, until next time guys, keep your head screwed on.